Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is Hemalata from Ponvidyashram. Today's session is from History, Chapter 2, From Hunting, Gathering to Growing Food. In this chapter, you will learn about the earliest people in detail. Dear children, how many of you traveled for a long distance? Of course, all of us would have traveled to our native places, tourist spots, or religious spots. How do we travel to these places? There are different means of transports available for us, isn't it? We travel through roadways, railways, airways, etc. We prefer to travel as quick as possible to reach our favorite spot. All these technologies we are using to travel had limited our traveling time. Nowadays, we use fastest means of transport. What about our grandfathers? They were familiar with buses and trains. Our great-grandfathers who lived before 1850s would travel through carts or by walking. Then think about our ancestors who traveled from one place to other place. During earliest period, they traveled without any facilities like we have now. Even there were no roads or paths for them to reach a place. Do you think they would stayed and stuck around a place and not travel to anywhere? Or else they would travel throughout their life to reach a place? Either this or that. But children, they had done both the activities. Yes, they traveled to many places and also they stayed in that place for a while. Now we will study why they had traveled and for what reason they stayed at different places. The earliest people, why were on the move? In chapter 1, we studied and understood how people came into our subcontinent, what they were doing, and how they lived. We know about people who lived in the subcontinent as early as 2 million years ago. Through the analysis and characteristics of the earliest people, we describe them as hunter-gatherers. How we named them as hunter-gatherers? We named them from the way in which they got their food. Generally, they hunted wild animals, caught fish and birds, gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalks, and eggs. The immense variety of plants in a tropical land like ours meant that gathering plant produce was an extremely important means of obtaining food. Do you think that all these activities are very easy and anyone can do it without any special skills? No, none of these things was easy to do. There are several animals that run faster than us, many that are stronger. To hunt animals or catch fish and birds, people need to be alert, quick, and have lots of presence of mind. To collect plant produce, you need to find out which plants or parts of plants are edible, that is, can be eaten, as many can be poisonous. You also need to find out about the seasons when the fruits ripen. Why the hunter-gatherers moved from place to place? There are at least 4 reasons why hunter-gatherers moved from place to place. First, if they had stayed at one place for a long time, they would have eaten up all the available plant and animal resources. Therefore, they would have had to go elsewhere in search of food. Second, animals move from one place to other place, either in search of smaller prey or in the case of deer and wild cattle, in search of grass and leaves. That is why those who hunted them had to follow their movements and they have to search for their own food. Third, plants and trees bear fruit in different seasons. So people may have moved from season to season in search of different kind of plants for their food. Fourth, people, plants and animals need water. To survive, water is found in lakes, streams and rivers. While many rivers and lakes are perennial, others are seasonal. People living on their banks would have had to go in search of water during the dry seasons, winter and summer. Perennial. Perennial rivers are those rivers which exhibit a continuous flow of water throughout the year except during extreme drought. Seasonal rivers. Seasonal waters. Seasonal rivers are the rivers which flows only in rainy seasons and remain dry mostly. So children, we live in a modern society. Our parents trains us to live according to our surroundings. We follow our parents in all our activities to act as if we also belongs to the same society. List out the skills and knowledge that the children of the earliest communities had. Do you think that we have any of these skills and knowledge nowadays? List out it with the help of your parents and make a note of it. Fine. We had learned only few informations about the earliest people. To study about them in detail, we need more sources. In last chapter, you would learn that how the sources were excavated by the archaeologists and how the archaeologists date all the sources found in the sites. Now, the next topic is how do we know about these people? To study about the hunter-gatherers, archaeologists have found some products which were made and used by them. They had made and used many tools to ease their activities. The tools were made of stone, wood, and bone. Among them, stone tools have survived best. In this picture, there are different kind of stone tools. They are in different forms and shapes. A. These are examples of the earliest stone tools. B. These were made several thousand years later. C. These were made later still. D. These were made about 10,000 years ago. E. These are natural pebbles. Period during the use of stone tool by the early people was named as Stone Age. Early Stone Age tool making developed by at least 2.6 million years ago. The early Stone Age began with the most basic stone implements made by the early humans, as we saw the stone tools in A. So these old down toolkits include hammer stones, stone cores and sharp stone flakes. By about 1.76 million years ago, early humans began to make Acheulean hand axes and other large cutting tools. By 200,000 years ago, the pace of innovation in stone technology began to accelerate. Middle Stone Age toolkits included points which could be halved onto the shafts to make spears, stone awls, which could have been used to perforate hides, and scrapers that were useful in preparing hide, wood, and other materials. During later period, the pace of innovations rose. People experimented with diverse raw materials, bone, ivory, and antler, as well as stone, were used for making tools. The level of craftsmanship increased, and different groups sought their own distinct culture, identity, and adopted their own way of making things. Generally, some of these stone tools were used to cut meat and bone, scrape bark from trees and hides of animal skins, chop fruits and roots. Some may have been attached to handles of bone or wood to make spears and arrows for hunting. Other tools were used to chop wood, which was used as firewood. Wood was also used to make huts and tools. So in this picture, stone tools may also have been used for digging the ground to collect edible roots, and also stitching clothes made out of animal skin. In next session, we will study about them, where they lived, and what kind of tools they used and how they made it, etc.